One should practice the Prajnaparamita, just as you have taught, and all the Tathagatas will rejoice. And said this, Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, that whole assembly in the world, its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Juve ne sho tampa ne doju ma ye dodoje Druva bola ma ye bujinzi ne sum kandro sola shatselo agasamara Samarada Jandara Zamaraya Mete Yata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisattva Ojuzumji Gai Dembe Doji She Ndobo Noji Meba Doji Shewa Doji Dragi Baji Metin Beju Tanji She Dingoyi Soha Gerin Tonja Jeju Jewadam Mitun Nube Jendan Jewadam Tumba Drujim Ponsum Sojoji Draji Jandenda Delejo. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun, and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient living beings enjoy this pure realm. Holy Lamas high, wrap the sky of your Dharma bodies in massive clouds of knowledge and love. Let them pour upon the earth of your disciples as we are ready, a shower of rain, the teachings deep and wide. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. Idam Guru Radha. Chedan Soji Janama Janju Badu Dani Yasuji Bagi Chunye Jibe Sanaji Drola Benji Sanye Jubar Chedan Soji Janama Janju Badu Dani Yasuji Bagi Chunye Jibe Sanaji Chedan Zeji Jananda Shanju Badu Dani Jasuji Dagi Chunye Jibe Sanaji Drola Benji Sanji
Amo Oh, yeah, light.
Can you turn the light on, please? Anyone?
Okay. Oh, then I got that laundry what the Mandua what to say, for laundry casual. That laundry than that, Jebu to Chungo the Tomo in larger in Batan, Din the Tomo in larger in Batan, and the Jebi Chimbi larger in Bason, what two traders, Marbe.
So we've been engaging in an analysis of this text, the root text, The Lamp to the Path to Enlightenment by Lord Atisha. And if we condense the meaning of this text and we look at what it's truly going over, it's dealing with the beings who, of three capacities. So there's the teachings that are shared in common with beings of a small capacity or small scope, the teachings shared in common with beings of medium capacity or medium scope, and the teachings for beings of great capacity or the great scope. So these are the three divisions of types of beings we've gone over, and this is the condensed meaning of the lamp for the path to enlightenment.
다 집이 중고도 도무요 라지 바 된다데 가르스나 되네 등아 수시소나 안는 내송 지야가 보여 말이스 내송 동에 가야 되네 하다 멀지나 가보요 말이스 하다 멀레 로야가 랑그림 받네도 거르스 저거 중고도 도무요 라지 바 되게.
So in dealing with the first level, which is the teaching shared in common with beings of small capacity, this is a type of being who recognizes the downfalls of the suffering of the lower realms of cyclic existence and does not like that or wish to have to be reborn there. So this type of practitioner abandons or eradicates the potential to be reborn into the lower realms and wishes to seek or obtain a rebirth in the higher realms of the gods and humans and so forth. So the being whose sole aim is to achieve a rebirth into the higher realms and to stop rebirth into the lower realms is called a being of small capacity.
아니 군수송을 저선도 거네 아니 해당다유 되는 가서 그래 먹이 주는 거 수진송이야 되네 디발에 샤당지야 어떤 데인서 말বে.
So in order for the practitioner to achieve this, he or she must engage in refuge, have foundational practices in refuge in the three jewels, ethics, or ethical behavior, as well as a confession of downfalls or acknowledgement of downfalls. So these are three things necessary for a being of small capacity to engage in. So this is the condensed meaning of this. So if we were to explain this more thoroughly, we could. There is a vast amount of information we could explain. So if we look at the Great Exposition on the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment by Lama Tsongkhapa or Lama Rinpoche, the section on the beings of small capacity is about this thick. This many pages. Maybe 100, 200 pages. So the next division is the teaching share in common with beings of medium capacity or middling capacity. And this type of practitioner recognizes also the sufferings of the higher realms, of the gods and humans and so forth. He or she recognizes that the gods and human realms are pervaded with suffering and contain the three types of suffering: the suffering of change, the suffering of suffering, and the pervasive compounded suffering. So this practitioner wishes to engage in a practice to achieve liberation, which is a freedom from cyclic existence altogether, a freedom from these sufferings altogether. So this practitioner must engage in a practice of the three higher trainings. The three highest higher trainings. The highest higher training in ethics, highest higher training in concentration, and the highest higher training in wisdom. And the highest higher training in concentration is a concentration which uses as its object of observation emptiness. And the wisdom is the wisdom which utilizes as its object of observation emptiness. So these three higher trainings combined allow this practitioner to achieve the state of liberation or nirvana, which is eradication of all six realms of cyclic existence, because he or she recognizes the downfalls.
that Japan ding on did not Tomo in Laja Remalarin Chimanol, Demba Jetan, then do La Junior going to call Kubitu, and then what the nigga Mamujun waters, the Leshu Mowi waters.
So when we look at the teaching shared in common with beings of medium capacity in Lama Tsongkhapa's great exposition on the stages of the path to enlightenment, we'll see that that section deals with the Four Noble Truths, the 12 links of dependent origination, and truly access is the root of cyclic existence by explaining these things. So the great exposition on the stages of the path section on the medium scope deals with these topics as well.
What the so good answer is that Dujavaina and the Labasmontris.
So if we were to condense this, we would say that it is the three higher trainings.
What that the Nema Kaju, that Jibba Chimbi Lanjimba, and Jibin gozo, and Dunga Judan Jiba, led on Yomo Pontu, Inaya, Yomugu Pacha Pontu, Maris, Yomugu Pacha Mabu Baina, and the Sanji to Taji Chambacha to Maris. They Yuala and the Shanju say, Teba Chimbi Long Lojang waters, Marbe.
So in this method, one is able to eradicate the karma and afflictions and the obstructions to liberation. One has the ability in the medium scope, or a being of medium capacity has the ability to eradicate the obstructive afflictions. But he or she cannot, with that particular method, eradicate the imprints of the afflictive obstructions or the obstructions to omniscience. So he or she cannot achieve the state of all-knowing or omniscience because of these obstructions which are still present, because the imprints of the karma and afflictions are still present. So then this practitioner must generate the mind that aspires to enlightenment or bodhicitta and engage in various practices in order to eradicate the obstructions to omniscience, in order to achieve the state of all-knowing, unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment. And this is the aim of the great scope.
That don't need to be shut out and Shanjuk sent Nyandul, the materials on Troja Nyan Jevaina, then Shidil Nyabundu, Nyumobi Bacha, the Bone, and Taji Chamba, Sanji.
So the method to achieve the state of Buddhahood is to couple the wisdom realizing emptiness with the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So it is necessary to have a union of the wisdom realizing emptiness with bodhicitta. And if one has this union, then he or she is able to eradicate the obstructions to omniscience, which are the imprints of the afflictive obstructions. So once he or she has eradicated these through the union of wisdom realizing emptiness and the mind that aspires to enlightenment, then he or she can become a fully realized, all-knowing Buddha.
로장 비추니요. 주 대니 강론 로장 발라 때네. 안내 장주가 세제 다지거든 사지고 도바 샤오 냐베 장주가 세도 줄 제소나 안내 장주 세바 차는 거. 대바 전부 차는 거스.
So, the mind that aspires to enlightenment can be generated through two specific lineages of instruction. The first being the 7-point cause and effect for realizing or achieving the state of bodhicitta. And the second is the equalizing and exchanging self with others. So these two lineages are lineages of causal factors for achieving the state of the mind that aspires to enlightenment. These, I forgot what the last thing he said. Dene tama gari sumpare. The judre menga dun dang dakjen nyampa j lapsa. Okay. So once one achieves this state through either of the two causal paths, then he or she becomes a bodhisattva. And once he or she becomes a bodhisattva, he or she becomes a Mahayanist, enters the Mahayana path.
Oh, that's good.
And I'm sorry, I forgot one more thing. And the aim of this great scope practitioner, or the great vehicle practitioner, is to be able to bring all sentient beings to a state of unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment. So this is the aim of the great vehicle practitioner, and it is achieved by generating bodhicitta through either of the two causal lineages, 7-point cause and effect, and equalizing and exchanging self with others. Okay.
셔러지 바로 드시면 하고샤우스 상주 세 여바 장제 사제 두 말에 상제게 아니 돈이 두비 셔러라서 시르라서 버트들 하고 그래스 냐래제 오그래스 냐도 냐래 마제바 이나 아니 상주 세 장배 사제 두 말에 돈이 두비 셔러 장바 공비 사제 두 말에 군이 냐도 그래스 초자다 아니 냐래 제바 이나 아니 사제 용 그래서 어디 송디서 말에
롱 가래
롱 사제 근도든도
산지기도
사제 최단지 나바 타제도 ngobazuba 상제원 대비 세제 타제도 상제 고부투면 되바 여바이나 아니 샤주게 세 여바 상제 되게 말다스 되니 신조다 돈이도 비셔 냐솔랭 고래서 어디 송노 그래.
So, if one has the mind generation, or generated the mind that aspires to enlightenment, that wishes to bring all sentient beings to a state of unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment, then one must also engage in the practice of the 6 perfections and also couple that with the 3 higher trainings. But if one only has the mind that aspires to enlightenment and does not couple that with the wisdom realizing emptiness, then he or she will not be able to achieve the state of Buddhahood. It has been stated that by relying upon bodhicitta alone, or by relying upon the mind that aspires to enlightenment alone, the final goal cannot be realized. And the reason for this is that if one desires or has a wish to achieve the state of Buddhahood, then he or she must combine bodhicitta with the wisdom realizing emptiness. So these two things are unsurpassable, are necessary. These two things are necessary in order to achieve the final aim. And only having the wisdom realizing emptiness is not enough, or only having bodhicitta is not enough. Both must be present.
that teba chemi lang lo jang bi chu ge lang ri chembo khatu de sha chu ge sen ko de song yo res den ma jimba chu jin zo ba san ten shin ru de le go was lang ri chembo lo da wo de den ma shin ru de le res.
The Lamrim Chembo Tambo, the Shanchu
Tiba
Jason,
Chenbi Shanchu
using Jena, then a Shintu.
Shindu Bonajin Song do others.
So in the Great Exposition on the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment, Lamrim Chemo by Lama Tsongkhapa, it begins with the generation of the mind that aspires to enlightenment. And once one has generated that mind in the Lamrim Chemo, it goes on to explain the six perfections. So the perfection of generosity, the perfection of ethics, the perfection of patience, the perfection of concentration, the perfection of perseverance, and the perfection of wisdom. So I'll do those again in the correct order. The perfection of generosity, the perfection of ethics, the perfection of patience, the perfection of effort, the perfection of concentration, and the perfection of wisdom. So the Lamrim Chemo explains these things after explaining the mind that aspires to enlightenment. And this is the Great Vehicle section.
What did Lari Chimut Landro, what was Nyandu Druba in the ordinary is?
So this is how one would put the Great Exposition on the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment together with the Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment. This is the manner in which one can look at both.
Tatan Lari Chembo in the Shindu the Shine, these would the passing Tamanila Hobbits, Woodlma, and they don't love maybe Chanela Hobbits, Hatun Hobbits, message letters, television Shoguni Jala Juris, what the head was, Tatanma.
So in this, then Tambo, Shanchu Jason, then a Shintu, then a Shine Dang Hatun.
Passing Tamanila Hobbits, message.
Message.
Shindu non santen the Shira New Euro, do that Chema passing Tama goes so, Tonila maybe Tingens in down, Tonila maybe Hatung good Jeshin Jeva Yungred. What the good heading is that?
Then a Tony La Mipi Shine, then Tony La Mipi
Shine, Tony maybe Hatoni, but there, Mombashi, Ulma,
Mombo, Nija,
Nija has been Hatung to Ladung.
So in the Great Exposition on the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment, the six perfections are explained in the perfection vehicle, in the manner of the perfection vehicle. So the six perfections are explained, and then when we look at the six perfections, the final two being concentration and wisdom, then it moves on to the section on the karma piety and special insight. The special insight section is about 200 pages long or more. So it deals with a concentration which uses as its object of observation emptiness. And then a calm abiding, which is focused on emptiness. And then the special insight, which is focused on emptiness. So these are wisdom types of concentration and wisdom types of the concentration is focused on a wisdom topic, which is emptiness. So there's a very large section in the Lamrim Chemo dealing with these vast subjects.
Oje, that and Latung, Tony maybe Latung, and Latung she on duta, and Tony maybe Latung Shiro the Ganesha Urasana, and Chugangolo de Mama Rubares, 10 days, Chugangolo 10 days on the Mama Rubares, the Mama Ruba Shebi, and then Shiro, what Nijila Latung Sagres, and then Kazure. Tony La Kazure. Tony La Mine, Jedoji, Shijang Simbi, and Tony to be Shiro, Nijila Latung Shiro Sagres, Latung Shiros and that, Tujung Shiro, Tony La maybe Tujung Shiro, Tony La maybe Sanjung Shiro, Jebatsamara, Tony to be Jebatsama. Then Tony to be Jebatsama there, and then the Yana to Gombala then and Gonjung Shiro. Gonjung Shiro no Shenet Latuni later. What the that Tony La maybe Tujung Shiro, Sanjung Shiro, Tony La maybe Shenet, Laton, the Suku Yu Tony Chebayo Mara, Kangolo Yu Tony Chibares, Lol Chebayoras.
Okay. So The special insight, which we're talking about, uses as its object of observation emptiness. So this is dealing with wisdom. So there are the three types of wisdom: the wisdom arisen from hearing, the wisdom arisen from contemplation, and the wisdom arisen from meditation. So these three types of wisdom happen in that order, and then once one achieves the wisdom arisen from contemplation, then he or she is working on or in the section of the wisdom arisen from special insight. And once the wisdom arisen from contemplation takes place, then this is considered inferential wisdom, or an inferential prime cognition, which is a valid cognition but arrived through inference. So the special insight that we're speaking of is as follows: recognizing that things are not truly established. Things are not truly established because they dependently originate. So this is the sign which proves emptiness. This is the reason that emptiness is truly the state of reality, and the sign is dependent origination. So this is the emptiness that is the object of observation of the concentration. Emptiness, which is the object of observation of the wisdom. The calm abiding, which uses as its focal point emptiness. All of these things are focusing on the same emptiness. The emptiness itself is not different. There's no difference in the emptiness. The difference is the what is cognizing the emptiness, or in the manner in which one is apprehending the topic of emptiness is different, but the emptiness itself is precisely the same. So this is what we're dealing with when we speak of special insight. In accordance with the paths, we're speaking of special insight, and a union of calm abiding and special insight, which utilizes as its object of observation emptiness. And this stage is the stage which one achieves the wisdom through inference.
어제 다 돈이 있었는데 다 개개나더니나 수업을 루바이나 안 주당지 땡데데 덴바만 루바 덴바만 루바 서겐드지 라고요 말해서 고아차소나 대중 싫어서 그래서 고아차네 아니 야 덴바만 루바 돈이 있었는데 서고요 말해서 고아야 차소나 대중 싫어서 되고 그랬어 고소나
Then Lama dan Becha Luna.
아니 원에 돈이 있었는데 라고요 말해서 생 시소나 월 고아장 대중 싫어서 퇴발이 좋아 라마게 돼 대마마루바를 다서 러발에 안줄 표그러 고그러 고발 때네 아니야 돈이 생긴들 질라고요 말이죠 생산 고소나 대중 싫은 거 좋은 거です.
So the first type of wisdom, the wisdom arisen from hearing, is the kind of wisdom that one achieves pardon me, through listening to a teaching, listening to a Lama's instruction, for instance. Hearing the instruction or reading a text and on instruction and so forth. So once that actual wisdom enters the mind itself through hearing or through reading and so forth, this is called the wisdom arisen from hearing. So if one hears about emptiness, reads about emptiness, and it enters the mind, then this wisdom is the wisdom arisen from hearing, the first level of wisdom.
다고 돈이를 고아차바 듣는로 토종요아리 이조요아리 로 템부요 말해서 랑선 체빈 조데 그래서 고 템부시 매장 안에 콜로드 템부요 말해서 데네 템부 용알을 가르고 그러서나 돈이 주베 땅다라 때네 아니 주나 대바마 주베 녜수나 제바사마 지수나 안 템부 차용 그랬을 때 토종 돈을 그래서
So at this point, though, there are doubts. There are doubts tending to true, doubts tending to false. The various divisions of doubts in one's mind And there is not a very stable understanding of this emptiness. And what must take place next is that the practitioner then relies upon a correct sign. The practitioner relies upon a correct sign to arrive at a more stable understanding of this emptiness. And this correct sign will lead one to the state of inferential prime cognition, or inferential valid cognition. Through engaging in analysis of correct signs, one is able to stabilize the understanding of emptiness, to eradicate doubts and arrive at inferential prime cognition. And a translator notes that's one of the 7 types of consciousness, and it's one of the categories of consciousness that is valid cognition and incontrovertible.
다 돈이 라미비시네 다 돈이 도 제바 삼았지 아니 돈이 때문에 사버렸어 돈이 때문에 잡이 돈바니들 아니 가서 그래 마집 제바 마집아지네 아니 뜻냐바자고 시내 생겼 어떤게 제바 마집아지 돈이 다가랑 찌지 누수 공원에 양내양도 공부이나 아니 갈래지네 아니 로템부 차용 그랬어 돈이 라미 생 템부 차네.
So, as one meditates more and more and does not forget the object of observation and of emptiness, does not forget it, and continues to stabilize this understanding, this inference relative to emptiness. Once one stabilizes it and the mind does not move in either direction and is able to focus directly on this subject of analysis, then one achieves the state of calm abiding. And this becomes a very stable way in which one engages in analysis of emptiness.
오게 돈일 제바 마제바제 안에야도 공부할 때는 가서 생템을 차네 아니 르던 생 도와 쳐지려야 와르스 시장로 그래서 시장 르를 집을 와요 와르스 생은 하매비 아니 집을 와요 와르스 들 아니 르를 집을 와들 르 시장스 그래서 르를 도와지려고 와르스 생 하다만에 생을 집을 해야 와르스 들 생 시장로 그래서 르던 생 시장이게 조시비 돈이라 찌지네비 아니 로들라 시네로 시네
druship donagare the tamche shingyu the tama druship
donagare parent have
concomitant okay then the tama la don't
and that 돈이라 maybe 시네 고네로 돈이라 maybe 시네 고네 아니 조부지 롱사바지레용 거스 롱 연지 what 되게 를 지분 거스 어들 르 신장을 그래서 르 양보 빼 지분 와요 르 신장 되네 생래야 되네 하매비 도와 집을 와요 그래서 대 신장스 그래서 되니 예비까지 돈이라면비 돈이 뭐 로지여로 와 띵해지 주로 어들 신내스가 좀 거스 신내.
So once one meditates, familiarizes oneself again and again with the object of observation of emptiness and stabilizes the mind and achieves the state of inferential prime cognition, something happens to the mind and the body. A state of mental and physical pliancy occurs in which the body itself, because of the winds within the body are directionally proper, the body feels very light and is blissful, achieves the state of happiness. So this is called physical pliancy. And this occurs at the state of calm abiding. And then the mind itself becomes blissful and happy and so forth. And this is called mental pliancy. So a state of mental and physical pliancy takes place through familiarization and stabilization, familiarization with emptiness and the stabilization of the inference of that emptiness. This mental and physical pliancy occurs.
어제 다 돈이라 미비 띵엔 지게 주셔발라 때네 돈이라 미비 사동 안에 제고바데 안에 바신 디바다 ane judo omasun jibares judo omasun ane judo omasun ta ane phajin teba nyeke ane tonila mebel haton jebala jo ane tonila mebel shenen khod rogores jo shenen khod sonala dene ane tonila mebel haton jegores je gobi tsude ane phajin teba ta judo omasun jibares.
So it's precisely the same in the tantric tradition and the perfection vehicle. The single-pointed concentration, which utilizes as its object of observation emptiness, is the same. Calm abiding is achieved, and then special insight is achieved after calm abiding. So this order of events that takes place, order of realizations, is precisely the same in the tantric vehicle and the perfection vehicle. So the calm abiding precedes, that means before, right? I always get that confused. Calm abiding comes before the special insight, and the object of observation in both vehicles is precisely the same, and that is emptiness.
다 주도 고마 하라면서 그러고 다 주도 고마 야메다가 산도 성완되거든 아니 린초다 아니 칼라자가라 소바 주도 고마도 저기 하라면게 신내다 하동이데 아니 하동 제발 신내 호도 조고마 제자 제토고레스 어떤데 그 다시 준 거레스.
That's good. The jupo plaza. Then the anjesruna the jiji dang duji korlo dang
sanwandupa 하라면게 nenjulana maybe juji 신내다 하동이 아니 니자 냥도 제토고레스. 하동 제발에 지메지 신내 호도 조고고 말레스.
The
신내다 하동이 견제 그거 말레스. 냥도 제그레스.
Judre ala nyamdu.
하동 제발에
Thing chewangama.
신내 호도 조고고 말레스. 신내다 하동 냥도 제토고레스.
So when we look at the highest yoga tantra tradition of Kala Chakra, Guya Samaja, and Yamantaka, and etc., you can see that this isn't a cause and effect relationship that takes place. In the highest yoga tantra system, these two things can happen at the simultaneously. So the achievement of calm abiding and special insight is simultaneous, whereas in the previous explanation there is a cause and effect relationship, and in this particular case there is not.
어디 다주도 고마저거나 예당 다지던 뒤지던 고 안에 룰 자꾸 뭐비와르스 안에 자꾸 안에 자가서 말해 쇼 자꾸 렘비 자꾸 얘기 자꾸 안에 와 자꾸 뭐비와르스 자꾸 나올 신도 차이 롱당생 신도 차이 롱생 와던데 신도 차이 롱생 공주비 안에 호이당 가진다 뭐던데 미네 공용들래 안에 그 제바제바 이나 신에들 하동 니자체 두어스 신에 제발 게시고 말스 안에 그 신에들 하동 니자체 두어스 제 두어스
Then I got almost everything. The korlo.
Nangla. Heka nalu zaku 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 nalu le shindu chayu long. Ana nga su dangba jeong de shindu chayu long ji dang san khoni nyang du yo res. Ye se su ma de. Shindu chayu long sen ni long dang sen ni ngo ju bi da ane hon yi na ma dang. Wo den de
Humik.
ye ge hon yi doni la me bi hon yi na ma den de la me ne shindu chayu long sen ngo ju bi. Wo den de la me ne gong yong du ane 제바 있나요? 안에 셴네 게시가 말이지. 셴네들 하도니 자체 두고래.
Okay, so in this system, one is able to achieve these two states simultaneously. So when one is engaging in the deity yoga, for instance, the front generation and the self generation forms, and meditating upon the chakras and the chakras and the channels and so forth, within the chakras, or I wonder what a good English translation for that is. Within the chakras, there are subtle winds, and the mind. And the mind is on the subtle winds, and the mind, in a more subtle state, has a clear light essence. So one is able to utilize the seed syllable of the syllable hum, and circumambulate that with the golden rosary or a mala, the trinwa, the mantra garland. So one can circumambulate that home with a mantra garland. And through this process, through having the ability to engage the clear light mind and the subtle winds within the chakras, one can simultaneously generate calm abiding and special insight.
다 바신 대반다 가서 바신 대바 제자진은 로고요. 다 돈이라 메비 신의 도사소나 돈이라 메비 신의 도사소나 안 돈일 제바신을 하동 공부하르스. 신의 거수 돈일 제바시죠 말스. 제바시바 있는 신의 너그레스. 신의 용구마 신의 도마 게시그레스. 다드네 신의 줄을 제타두 되네 아자 돈일 제바시용도 신의 미바도 쇼용으로서 군이 냥도 데모도 가지네. 신의 거수 찌지 내고로와 하동의 제바시고로와 제바시용을 들렸더니 안내 신의 양 내차도 쉬운 거스 찌지 내바도 쉬운 거스 안내 하동의 제바시 양 신의 찌지도 내도 냥도 안내 간사지송의 शेर의 제바시바다 신의 찌지도 내바니 안내 조부차네 냥도 용화 송송나 안내 셀라송제 스근들레 거스 말바
Then Yanjir Suranang, Jupo Suranang.
다 돈이라 메비 너무 신의 도그러와 신의 도용도 르 돈이라 메비 신장당 르신장 산신장 도용도 안 돈이라 메비 신의 도로와 샘tem부 도용거레스 샘tem부 도 자도 양자 사동 도요마레스 사동 도발을 가르치고 그러으나 양자 돈이라 제바신 돈이 공부하르스 제네 댄데 임베시르 내가 말고 든그 사람 못다네 제바신 공부하르스
네네
제바신의 야네야도 공 되네 제바신의 야네야도 공발라 되네 안에 야 제바시에 떠지야 르신장의 센신 르신 지부지려요 와르스 어떨 해서나 라통스가 내고 와르스 말이야 알아들으지라나
So in the perfection vehicle there is an order of things that take place. The calm abiding, once one achieves the state of calm abiding, this does not mean that instantaneously the state of special insight is developed. One achieves the state of calm abiding, and then the mental and physical pliancy occurs. And after that, one then again utilizes as his or her object of observation emptiness and engages again and again and again in analysis. Analysis such as things are not truly established. Why are they not truly established? Because they dependently originate. Dependent origination is a correct sign for the lack of true establishment. So one engages in this analysis and then utilizes the calm abiding state to be able to then use this precise concentration, this stabilized type of analysis to achieve the state of special insight. So this stabilization takes place, and then one can achieve the state of special insight and then arrives at the state of inference. So in the perfection vehicle, the calm abiding becomes the concomitant of the special insight, or becomes a helper, if you will, to the special insight itself. So this is the way in which calm abiding and special insight are connected in the perfection vehicle. One comes after the other, and then the prior serves as a helper to the latter.
단들은 인사 말은 가서 출지자도 추 리벨 출지자도 출지자들래 되네 안 담보 제자 마시는 춘만 노는 거로다 되네 지나면 거야면 돼 지나면 되지 되네 되지 출지자도 안에 지나면 되샤 에딩 아마게 틴춘티로 되는 뭐거로도 안 지나면 지금도 춘도 kudu 야자도
Lessa.
오 된다고 인사했어 근데 그 대상하고는 안 좋지도 지고도 돈이 라미네 제바제발라 때네 안 찌지도 내봐 안에 대 용화라 당보 제바시네 돈이라 양내야 제바시발라 네 제바시 양지지네 제바시 안에 간상지 네 제바시발 마트바 지지 네도 용고서스 하통스가 어떤
So the achieving the state of special insight, excuse me, is very similar to swimming. I remember when Adrian, a student of mine, tried to take me swimming, and he brought me to a pool, and the word in Tibetan's river, water, but I know the story, so it was a pool. He took him to a pool, and at first, one isn't able to swim. One has to be held, can only go as deep, as their chin, so they don't drown, and then has to have it held up maybe so that one doesn't sink and drown. But slowly, once one starts to learn the moves and the maneuvers of swimming, then one can float and no longer has to have these props, if you will, the helper holding the hand up and so forth. Likewise, the object of observation of emptiness and its cognition are similar. One has to again and again and again engage in analysis of emptiness. And one has to achieve these various states. And as one achieves the states, the understanding is more and more stable. In the same way that one no longer sinks and drowns once he or she learns how to use the proper maneuvers in order to swim. But first one must have all of these accessories, if you will, in order to learn how to swim so one doesn't drown. Likewise, initially one must have the accessories of the prior realizations in order to achieve the latter.
와 대답이 돈일 제바제발라 때네데네 샬라 손르기 띵엔지 라동 되고서 라동 정고서스
Yanjisrodai.
라동 용고서스
So once one develops these prior things, then the state of special insight, which utilizes as its object of observation emptiness, is achieved.
어제 다든 돈이라 메비 단다 라돈 제단은 뭐요 덴바니라 메비 라돈 덴바질라 메비 라돈 안에 라돈 뭐요 단다 돈이라 메비 라돈 야워레스 다 돈이라 메비 라돈 단에 단 대고 된데 마송도 와단 가정 가서 로즈 심으로 단다 달린 로즈 지나 나중 가송 되는 가송 가지도 마제로노스 English
53 Ngachungatsum.
That's
whatever is meditation on self. Okay. Okay. Number 53 says, thus whatever is meditation on selflessness, in that it does not observe an inherent nature of phenomena, is the cultivation of wisdom.
어제 다 대유춘나 말루비 라진다네 메미베 다메 바노 공간이 데네 셰로 공바이스 하동 셰로드 간데스 공고르스나 하동 셰로데 대유춘나 말루바스 대유춘나 말루바 딱 제단네 추스나 지도스 걸로 추로 그래스 말베 아네 셰바 마이미 추 대유춘나 말루바
오케이
대유춘나 말루바세 들어와 단단해질라다 넘어와 출랑 아주 셰바 마이미 주니 자고 그랬어 셰바 마이미 주
consciousness
네
서신리파
네 셰바 마이미 주니 담보데 셰바 마이미 주 데바 마루바 땡고 그랬어 대유추나 말루바 라진다네 메메베 다메 바노 공간이 데네 셰로 공바이스 대유추나 말루바스 셰바 마이미 주 말루바 주 단제 땡데 인장 안에 데바 마루바레스 대답이 라지지 메미바 데바드바 메미비 다메바 공비 셰로 던지라 하동기 셰로 또 공바들라 하동기 셰로 공바서 그래서 말베 어디지라잖아
then dewe chu nam malupi chu shebi chu dang shebi mai
셰바 마이미 chu 담보데
sheba donagari
셰바 consciousness 아이 consciousness 이 consciousness sis consciousness 셰바로 근데 셰바 마이미 추 뭐요로다 바이 아게 다든을 셰바 요도요다 되는 가서 르당 캄바다 신도 걸로 추로 담보데 셰바 마이미 추도 소리다 캄바다 랑가다 어디서 걸로 땡데데 대바 마루버스 대이 추나 말루비 뇌지당 되마시기 추 말루비 네 rangin tan meme be song de deje de cheba mai me shwe de ngalo rangin ji duba mares deba duba mares rangin tan meme be damba duba me ba mares deba duba mami bares deba duba mami ba yimbe tetabi deba madubi chuno deba madubi da me ba gombe ne shero cheba jen de jila ne latung shero gomba se res then shero gomba is latung shero gombi said gonju do res.
So thus, whatever is meditation on selflessness, in that it does not observe an inherent nature of phenomena, is the cultivation of wisdom. So here, when we speak of phenomena, there are two kinds of phenomena. Phenomena which is consciousness and phenomena which is not consciousness. Here, when there is a recognition, a meditation that does not observe that this any phenomena has an inherent nature. So here, inherent nature means true establishment or true existence. True establishment's really a correct term. So inherent nature here. So this meditation or this familiarization is a familiarization that does not observe a true establishment in phenomena, whether it be consciousness or non-consciousness. So here, selflessness is basically emptiness. So emptiness, the familiarization on selflessness or the emptiness of phenomena. And what is that familiarization? What does that familiarization observe? It observes that there is no true establishment relative to phenomena. There is no inherent nature. And then this is the cultivation of wisdom. So this is wisdom is the special insight. And special insight is a special insight whose object of observation is the nature of reality or emptiness. So here, this is the meaning of number 53.
다 최도서 걸라 대마 마루바 공바 다음에 공바 최단제 대마 마루바 되니나 안 돈이도 싫어 대마 두바를 마루바르스 도바 레고로와 돈이도 싫어다 안에 셰바도 그 대마 두바를 마루바르스나 안 돈이도 싫어 고로나 대마 마루바르 셰바 걸라 대마 마루바르스 시스 가주스네 말이야 what 그 걸라 댄데스 댄데 인상 대마 마루바르스 싫어 그 유돈이 대마 마루바 싫어 그 유최단제 대마 마루바 대진도 돈이도 싫어 그러냐 땡데 인상 대마 마루 버리스 어디 나주 나질만 해오면 돼 나주 자질로다 나주 싫어 찌는 죄나 그 강결하지 마통지 싫어 되니 리제바 나도 매버도 공샤스 어떻게 인식들로다.
Number 54 says, just as wisdom does not see, I'm going to forget what he just said if I read this. Just as wisdom does not see an inherent nature in phenomena, having analyzed wisdom itself by reasoning, non-conceptually meditate on that. So the question might arise, or a doubt might occur, is the wisdom realizing emptiness truly established? And the answer is no, because the wisdom realizing emptiness is a consciousness. And if it is a consciousness, it is necessarily empty. It is necessarily not truly established. It is necessarily not truly established because it dependently originates. So the dependent origination is the sign that even the wisdom realizing emptiness is not truly established. So if it is a phenomena, then it is not truly established. Wisdom realizing emptiness is a phenomena, and B, a consciousness. So because of this, it is necessarily not truly established. So this question might arise, a doubt might occur about the actual wisdom realizing emptiness itself, and the answer is no, it is not truly established.
어제 싫어지는 주나군 가게라지 마통진스 안 돈이도 싫어되게 추 관계야 대마도 통고요 말이야 대마도 통고어스 but 대진도 example 싫어지는 주나군 가게라지 마통진 싫어되니 리제바 돈이도 싫어되니 안 대마도 마도 제바시나 싫어되야 땡데레 땡데 인상 대마마도 버스 싫어되니 리제바 나도 매바 대공사 싫어되야 안 대마도 가르쳐 그래 싫어 대한 대마 마루 버스 안에 싫어 대한 대마 마루베 안에 nabar tuba meba the gongshas. What does it mean, Samarbe?
Kale kale la gangin sin of the NGK debts consult just as wisdom does not see it inherent nature. So 54 says, just as wisdom does not see an inherent nature in phenomena, having analyzed wisdom itself by reasoning, non-conceptually meditate on that. Then it yanjer suralang, selpo lago.
Tandani is it.
Ngapchu ngaje, yanjer the
Shira Jin Chuna Gun Gagraji Matonjins, Shira Deni Rijeba, Nadu Meba de Gonshas. And then don't need to be Shira Day on Dandies, Dandy is a Dema Marubaris. Demba don't need to be Shira Dema Maruba there, and then Dema Maruba de, Nadu Meba. Nadu Meba Gonguris, Nadu Meba. And then Kazure, Tume. Nadu Meba Gonzea de Chetan. Matubi is na Tony Gonson to be Tolang, Tony Gonson to be Golang, Tony Gonson to be Molulang, to Sola Matuis, Tuba Tantewa, Kotuba Mar, Gonson Rova, Tony Gonson to be Tolang, Tony Gonson to be Golang, Tony Gonson to be Ne Molulang so Marbe, to Sola Matuis, and Tuba Maimbe, to Sola Gonson Redro, Gonson.
Tony Ngunsum Dopi Tonlan, Tony Nusum Gopi Gonlan, Tony Nusum Gopi
Molulang. What does Matu is? Matu is the Nabodua, Tony Gonson to be Shetanjila, Matu is, Toba Dante Maturiva, Tode, Matu is, what the Nijikuandua.
So here, just as wisdom does not see an inherent nature in phenomena, having analyzed wisdom itself by reasoning, non-conceptually meditate upon that. So the wisdom realizing emptiness dependently originates. So because it dependently originates, it is necessarily not truly established. This is the correct sign, which proves its lack of true establishment, the actual dependent origination itself. And the inferential, I can do
Matuba Gonsa, Nikoya, Matuba Gombas, Matuba Gonsa, de Tony Gonson to Lola Matuba, say GJ. Young Matuba Gonsa, de Tony Jeba Shene Gomba de la Matuba Gomba Maris. Tony Jeba Sheba Tadele, Jeba Majeba Gomba de la Matuba Gonsa Mendo.
So the non-conceptual state of mind, which one must analyze this wisdom, is the non-conceptual state of the direct prime cognition of emptiness on the path of seeing, the direct prime cognition of emptiness on the path of meditation, and the direct prime cognition of emptiness on the path of no more learning. So these states of mind are non-conceptual states. These states that analyze emptiness, or these states of mind whose object of observation is emptiness, are non-conceptual during these various points in the path.
다 고줄 다 도바다 저기 내주지 마시바도 뭐 도바세야도 고수면다 다 도바세야 들어와 버나 안는 가서 녜를 버찰 대바이나 미기 대바이나 세부시분 누웠을 그 원송 통고로 버찰 세부시분 통고 누웠어 미 마존에 버찰 산다바이나 가서 버찰로를 거고 누웠어 세부 통고 누웠어 나 동행도 통고 누워 그 도바래서 도바들 된식이 나와되게 디도 거스 도바되게 세부시분 통고 말았어 메식 통도 세부 통고도 미 마존 산다다 메식 통바 나지 세부만 누웠어 어디 도바래서
So when we speak of conceptual, the meaning of conceptual, because on here it says non-conceptual and conceptual. Conceptual refers to this. If one sees a book, for instance, and apprehends a book, at that point he or she is apprehending it through direct valid cognition or direct prime cognition at that moment of apprehension. But then if he or she were to close his or her own eyes and then remember the image of the book itself, that image would not be as clear as the image that one apprehends when he or she cognizes it directly by looking at it. So here, this is the difference between conceptual and non-conceptual. One uses a mental image or mental construct in order to achieve the apprehension, whereas the other utilizes the apprehends the object directly without construct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Me ke bachal teba ina ba sebe shu to wondo me she ko bacha to ngon song re song song to ba tan te ma thui re ba to ba tan tewa to ba tan tewa to ba tan tewa yin zang to men se la go ya ji yo res
It's in him.
me ma zong ne bacha teba ina bacha yil she ba ge tong do was ane sebe tong mo do to ba res to ba de ko sebe tong go ma res.
So when we look directly at a book, for instance, this direct, when we look at it, it's free from conceptuality. That's one of the clarifying factors, translators note, for direct valid cognition. It's free from conceptuality when we look at it, but when we close our eyes and remember the image of the book, then we're dealing with concept or conceptuality of that image, and it's not as clear as the direct prime valid cognition of that. The apprehension is not as clear.
Ta toni ngoso tu thola toni ngoso tu gola malu la tu ngalo mishige pachal deba na ji sebu shi bu ngoso res te matu ishis matu bas chi ko ju yores.
So when we look at the direct prime cognition or direct valid cognition of emptiness on the path of seeing, the direct valid cognition or direct prime cognition of emptiness on the path of meditation, and the direct valid cognition of emptiness on the path of no more learning, all of these are non-conceptual states. These fall into the category of non-concept or non-conceptual, these realizations.
Ta tejin ko cholang da jolang ko se ya tane toni ngoso tu lo yores teme da chung ba because toni ngoso tu sabres teme da chung ba tejin la lo jen cholang da tejin jolang ko so toni ngoso tu lo yores.
Lessa. So it is not to say that there are not practitioners on the path of accumulation or the path of preparation who don't. It is not to say that there are not practitioners who can achieve non-conceptual states on the path of accumulation or the path of preparation, because there are Hinayana foe destroyers who have already achieved the state of direct prime cognition of emptiness. And have already had the wisdom realizing emptiness, but they have to traverse the great vehicle paths in order to achieve the final aim. So he or she, on the path of accumulation and path of preparation, have the ability to have this non-conceptual understanding because of the previous realizations of emptiness he or she had on the lesser vehicle path, in order to achieve the state that he or she is in, which is foe destroyer or arhatship. So there are non-conceptual realizations on the path of accumulation and preparation, as well as the others explained before.
Ya matuba toni la me matuba gonse de ya tambu jeba shene chue tanje demba maruba re chue tanje demba maruba saji ge song bare ne shishin gun do dang shera ni bola zuba adu sul demba maruba song bare long ge gun jeba an chue tanje demba maruba re tende imbe shere demba du chi to toma kan do maruba shere dang da la tene ya ne ya to san tamba de la jegung ma re jegung long da riba la tene an toni le jeba shene gon ba de la jegung la ro jegung je
J-Pog.
다 제바 시네 아니 제바 시베 타들냐 제바 마제네 돈이라 찌지도 공부 중으로 들 못도 공부서 그래서 못도 봐.
So the non-conceptual analysis which can be achieved must first come from inference. So When one engages in analysis of the Heart Sutra and various sutras that were passed down, texts and so forth, and starts to utilize the formulas such as things are not truly established because they dependently originate. Things are not inherently existent. They have no true establishment or nature of inherent nature from their own side. Once one engages in this sort of analysis, he or she can rely upon a correct sign. And this reliance upon a correct sign or a correct reason is what allows him or her to achieve the state of inference or inferential prime cognition. And then what happens from that state of inference, from this incontrovertible state of inference, then he or she is able to move to a non-conceptual, direct prime cognition of the object. But this is caused by the conceptual, inferential prime cognition, which is achieved through analysis and reliance upon a correct sign.
ane kanki raji matongshins toni dubi shera dege chö tanji ge dene demba druba tongyo mare demba ma druba tongyo waris shera jin chö na kun kanki raji matongshin toni dubi shera dege chö kanki ya ane raji ji druba tongyo maris demba ma druba tongyo waris demba ma druba tongwa dejin to shera deni reje bas toni dubi shera deni jang ane demba druba ru jeba sheba ina deya demba ma druba res demba madruba de long ta riba ni jigo ne jeba shin gong gu res shiro de ni ha demba madruba de long la de demba madruba ta da la de demba madruba ya ne ya to gong bi tar ane jeba ma jeba je ne to ni du bi shiro gong ba de mo tu ba gong ba as na tu me ba de gong shas na tu me ba jeba ma jeba gong ba de sa go sare.
So just as wisdom does not see an inherent nature in phenomena, having analyzed itself by reasoning, non-conceptually meditate on that. There is two ways in which one can achieve the non-conceptual estate, and that is through analysis. And once one engages in analysis and relies upon scripture and relies upon reasoning, relies upon scripture and reasoning, once that takes place, then he or she can achieve the state of inference, which then is arrived at through a correct sign, reliance upon correct sign and analysis, and then one can turn that into a non-conceptual analysis. This is the manner in which this takes place according to the perfection vehicle.
What the
Okay. So number 55. The nature of this worldly existence, which has come from conceptualization, is conceptuality. Thus, the elimination of conceptuality is the highest state of nirvana.
나도 레션 세반데 나도 대 추나 대바주 반지 덴지르 말에 덴지 이노로 고고문데 추나 대바주 반지 덴지들 나도 라고와 대바주 반지 나도 추나 대바주 반지 덴준 되게 주시발라 때네 안 되차제 용거래 공주제 용거래 안 나제제 용거래 대용게 레사네 콜코데르스 말베 또한번 나시 달라신 주지 다근데 신고라 차제바 수준 신다 라마바이 롤라 니주 건달란두스 tambo nga demba chuba zung tene nga yewa demba chuba zung tene ti chabala suba tete chine ane kuwalu kudu kuwa res marbe nadu leshun siban des nadu leshi ta dunga demba kunju demba tusu nga lo jo kangla tene shungwa res na ta tu na denzi la tene shungwa res dunga te le la tene shungwa res le di nyomo ba la tene shungwa res nyomo ba te demba chuba zimi nadu la tene shungwa res 나도 뭔가 있나 타버투도 그래서 고바치버리스 안에 표현치버시라레스 what is one inside
The nature of this worldly existence, which has come from conceptualization, is conceptuality. Thus, the elimination of conceptuality is the higher state of highest state of nirvana. So, through conceptuality, through engaging in proper mental conduct, one engages in afflicted emotions such as the poison of attachment and aversion or hatred and pride. And then various actions take place fueled by these afflictions, and then cyclic existence is created. One is propelled into cyclic existence by his or her actions and afflictions. So at the root of this is the grasping at true establishment. First one grasps at an I, or an ego, then he or she grasps at my things, I, then my, and then cyclic existence is once again propelled. One is put into cyclic existence, and the cycle continues because of this misapprehension of reality. So when we look at the first truth relative to the Four Noble Truths, the truth of suffering, we can see that suffering, and we look at the truth of origin. The origin is actually action and afflictions, but if we trace that back further, we can see that the grasping at true establishment or the grasping at true existence is actually at the root of cyclic existence. So all of these conceptions of I and my create all of these negative emotions, such as the attachments and prides and so forth. And this then creates actions fueled by them, and the actions create cyclic existence. So one must eliminate conceptuality and arrive at a point of non-conceptuality and eliminate this improper mental engagement in order to achieve the highest state of nirvana, in order to be liberated from the cyclic existence which one has caused by his or her own actions.
어쨌든 아주 댄디 연락 중이시 댄디 연락 중이 자원도 자와 쿠이 자와의 댄진 추나 대바 주반지 나도 자고 누워서 추나 대바 주반지 댄진 나도라 댄네 니바 두지길래 소바 나시 제바 민소 나바지시 댄디 연락 중이고는 코알 쿠비주 자와 타토나 나도 댄진 도통도와 추나 대바 마루바 또비 아니 돈이도빌 하동 공발라 댄네 대바 주반지 댄진 나도데 네 본토 그랬어 춘 대바 마루보고 돈이 또 비셔라도 공부하이나 편여져 보시라래 안 대생이 나도다 안에 동에 대바도 군주 대바도 공부 타바도도 그래 사지 공부도 그래 어떤 게 편여져 버려서 온 이사래.
So if we look at the 12 links of dependent origination, and at the root of cyclic existence is the causal factor, the root of cyclic existence, we find the grasping at true existence. We find that is the fuel, what fuels cyclic existence. The 12 links, such as ignorance, grasping, I don't know them in order, right off the top of my head like this. So Rinpoche did not list them all anyway. He just said a few of them. So ignorance and grasping and contact and karma and all of these 12 links are fueled by the grasping at true establishment. So the root of those 12 links is the grasping at true establishment. So it is possible, though, to eradicate this misconception, and the eradication takes place through the wisdom realizing emptiness. The wisdom realizing emptiness serves as an opponent to the origin of suffering, because the wisdom realizing emptiness serves as an opponent to the grasping of true establishment. So when we look at the truth of suffering and the truth of origin, the origin can be eliminated, so the truth of suffering itself can be eliminated, and nirvana or liberation can be achieved in that manner. So this is why it is so beneficial to engage in this analysis because of the reality and of emptiness, because this analysis allows one to eventually achieve the wisdom realizing emptiness, which makes liberation possible.
단데 나와 가서 대답을 드시더라. 당아서 타바 드링 로 제소나 드링 나도로 봐. 나도로 시로와 타바 드림 많이 메시소나 타바 드링 로 도네 제바 도노노와. 된나지 촌나 대바 주반지 된진 나도레스. 촌나 대바 마두바 시비 하동도 공바이나 나도 된진도 보네. 안 동에 본 타바 도그레스. What does one matter?
So it's very similar to the example of the rope and the snake. One walks into a dim room and cognizes a rope incorrectly, mistakes this rope for a snake. There is a misapprehension that takes place. This is a conceptuality, a concept of this that takes place, and this improper, this mistaken view, which is conceptual, creates all of the other emotions. Likewise, the misapprehension of the nature of reality, this conception itself, is what needs to be eliminated. One must abandon this mistaken view in order to achieve the final state. So the example of the rope and the snake is an example of the conceptualization that takes place when one misapprehends an object and what that conceptualization creates. Now, if one recognizes that it is not truly established, this then serves as the stepping stone to be able to then achieve the state of special insight, which then can become a non-conceptual understanding of the lack of true establishment or of the nature of reality. So this is the misconception, the conceptualization of the rope and the snake and the conceptualization of cyclic existence is the same in that both are mistaken views.
So this
is very condensed and small, but this is the meaning of it.
최시로 루시로다 나사디 주제발한테네 미기 짠잡아 통고로 근데 매단은 나사도 매버주나 짠잡아 통고도 매버리는 거로
짠잡아
다 헤드 말베 카든도 다음으로
the hair falls out
어때 나사디 주제발한테네 미기 짠잡고요 말데 짠잡아 통고로 단데 짠용군도 선네 최시로 루시 또 루시도 가데서 그러서는 매단에 나사도 가수나 안에 짠잡아데 통고 말했어. 된나지 춘나 대바 트비용하기 트비 바차공하기 된지 바차공하기 춘나 대바 주고 통도고 말했어. 대바 마두발 대바 주고 통고요 말했어. 대 트비용하기 통 말했어. 로로시레스. 춘나 대바 마두바 셰소나 안에 대바 주고 통 대바 주고 셈바도 갈리갈리 도는 그랬어. 말베.
Okay. So when one has an illness, for instance, that makes his or her hair fall out, I believe it was that. Did I catch?
Like seeing like you have hair over your.
Oh, right. Oh, that example. Okay, I thought the hair was falling, but
just the vision of it, the seeing.
Okay, I've seen this in the text before. So if one mistakenly has I get it now. It's hair falling down, but mistakenly sees a hair that isn't there hanging down in one's eyes. There's an illness that creates this. One has a mistaken conception that there is something hanging in front of his or her eye. This is a wrong view. This is a mistaken view. So this conception can be taken care of by going to a doctor, being prescribed medication, taking the medication, and then one will no longer have this mistaken view. Likewise, the grasping at true establishment can be abandoned in the same abandoned by the correct view of the wisdom realizing emptiness, or the correct view of the lack of true establishment of reality. So the grasping at true establishment has an opponent, and that opponent is the recognition of the lack of true establishment of all phenomena. So this is, the grasping at true establishment is a mistaken concept, is a wrong view, in the same way as the hallucination of hair one has in his or her eye that occurs because of an illness. And both of these cases, in both of these cases, the mistaken view can be eradicated, and what it causes then is eradicated. We'll do question. The Rinpoche, Katie, the Chikshena Tanda Triwa Dan Lenja, Gangin Sena, the Dunta Mambo, the Triwa Dan Lenja, Yomare, the Nye Sampa Me Mambo Triwa.
Okay.
Digsun.
Okay.
Okay, so we haven't in a while been able to do question and answer period. So Rinpoche said it would be all right if we did some questions right now at this point and did a question and answer period. As requested by Katie. So do you want to do, ask your question, and we'll see where we end up? Because we want to not run so late for Rinpoche's lunch. Last week was a little late. Go ahead.
Rinpoche, this is about concepts. If a person has died, they don't have any of their sense consciousnesses. How does a bardo being, through what consciousness does a bardo being meditate on through what consciousness does a bardo being meditate on non-conceptuality? Through what consciousness will that being used? What consciousness will a bardo being used to meditate on non-conceptuality? That's my question.
Because they don't have any of the senses? They don't have an eye sense?
Consciousness will a bardo being used to meditate on non-conceptuality?
Okay, so of the 6 types of consciousness, which one does he or she use to meditate on non-conceptuality?
What consciousness does a bardo being use to meditate on non-conceptuality?
Okay. The bardo nanla, the me shina, the me mig sheba nan sheba na me, gangin sena shison. Then bardos they can the non-dok kandre jedu kandre gangin sena mig sheba me na sheba me. How's it?
바두 세겐데 들어 어부 근상 도매 주스 어부 근상 도매 주스 바두기 뢰데 다 가준데 셰바이나 뢰니바 차로 뢰니비 셰바 근간 가서 그러다 뢰니바 그 미기 셰바나 셰바 차제 매바 자서 그러와 차네 안에 뢰다 세니도 가가 자는 그랬어 뢰다 세니 가가 잡아달라서 세한테 바두 뢰 주는 그랬어 바두 뢰 바두기 뢰데 자나무 요하랬어 가준 잡았던 뢰 말했어 가봐 있는 건도도 그래서 로다고 바들로 되게 여기랑 이제 또 어버가 창도 요하서 미기셔바 나이셔바 참아 요하서 어버군상 도매 주스 어버군상도 요하서 되네 가봐 로바 있는 토바요 말아서 그 로다고 가봐 있는 로 그랬을 때 셰바 그가 요하서 때
Then a dome Chenrezig to the bardo can.
도매
Dome.
나 다바도 가서 로드 가바이나 도무도 가바인 로그로 로 어떤 라바 인서스 그 저나도 도와요 말에 되네 그든 로그랬을 때
이네 돈이도 비셔라 the zinguna Chandre the sheba kagi.
돈이도 비셔라 바두에 가서
bardogi sheba kagi.
바두에 가서 돈이도 비셔라 자바 이나 바두에 가서 돈이도 비셔라 이지 셰바 돈이도 비셔라 이지 셰바 마도 오아시 사질마도 요 말했어 소비 나지 나가서 돈이 돈으로 이지해봐 자다 이제래 상제게 미기셔 돈이 동그레스 바두에 가서 그제 돈이 세계 여봐 있나 ane da jumba de tandu yoris.
Less so.
Then toni shebelo de iji shebaris.
Okay, so when one passes away, it is true that the present sense faculties and mental eye consciousness, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, eye sense power, ear sense power, etc., all of these things are discarded. But when one enters the bardo, a bardo body is taken on. Now this body isn't the same as the body that you and I have at this moment. It's a body of clear light. It is not something that is solid. It can go in any direction that it wishes to. It can go through walls. It doesn't have any sort of substance or substantiality, so it is able to move freely wherever it needs to. This bardo body has all of its faculties. The bardo body has the eye sense power, ear sense power, all of these things, all the sense faculties are present in the bardo body. It's just not the same ones that were present in the previous body of the person who passed away. So all of these things are present. But when we speak of the cognition of non-conceptuality or the trying to cognize emptiness in the bardo, this takes place through the mental consciousness. Only a Buddha can see emptiness with his or her own eyes. Only a Buddha can do that. It's not possible for other beings to, through their other faculties, to be able to apprehend emptiness. But a Buddha can. Whereas a bardo being, one who can understand emptiness, or who is, has the ability to apprehend emptiness in the bardo, that practitioner, he or she does so through the mental consciousness. So, mental consciousness, yichi sheba, mental consciousness.
Yichi sheba is thought.
It's mental consciousness. There are the sixth type of consciousness: eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, tactile, body consciousness, and mental consciousness. The mental consciousness is what can be brought to non-conceptual state, or a wisdom realizing emptiness is achieved through mental consciousness.
So is that what we use in this body then, the mental consciousness to apprehend this emptiness?
The tsei de yichi nampa sheba tomba ni zingdue tsei de.
아주 쉐바는 장쇼디 이 쉐바를 이 쉐바 장보시라레스 대 조골 베지 미기 쉐바드레스 미기 쉐바데 타렘부 통통도스 대 조골 장쇼디 베지 나이 쉐바레스 대 타렘부 고통도와 르지 쉐바 지 쉐바도 좋고 대가도 테나마도 쉐고도 돼 쉐바 장쇼 이지 쉐바 대이 손사 나주 돈이도 또 이지 쉐바마도 yen 칼리 커버스.
So it would be very difficult to utilize any other of the senses to apprehend emptiness for ordinary beings such as us. The eyes can perhaps see things that are very far away, and our ears may be able to hear a sound that is very far away. Our body might be able to feel a feeling or have a sense of touch, but the apprehension of emptiness by any of those other five senses is really very difficult. It is more, we use the mental consciousness in order to apprehend the emptiness.
이지 쉐바도 그 장보시라 인자
Because the mental consciousness,
이지 쉐바 무장우스.
the mental consciousness is much more powerful, much more clever, has more abilities than the other consciousnesses. And this is why, because of the intelligence or the clever ability of the mental consciousness, this is why that is the actual consciousness used to apprehend emptiness.
Because some people would think the nature of this worldly existence, which has come from conceptualization, the nature of worldly existence is perceived through eye, versus someone who can't see, how they perceive it through touch or hearing. So we're trying to delete concepts. We're trying to delete them, so we're trying not to rely on these senses to apprehend what we see. So to focus on the mind instead and apprehend objects through the mental consciousness versus using the senses. Yeah. And then that bardo being, if they practiced enough, they practiced enough in the human body, would use the same mental consciousness to apprehend emptiness in that bardo state.
Bardo yichi sheba dang say de yichi sheba chiparibe.
Padu yichi sheba, tsindi yichi sheba.
Chipa, kakare.
Kakai.
They're different mental consciousnesses.
Padu de leg and rebu tuma deres tuma. Leg Malaysia lena leg and rebu tuma padu deres padu. Pananga to Matu Tambashe on the Yundabul Hijibu leg was. Matu Tambashe and the Shira Hijibu. The Nazi leg and rebu tambo the Shirage ne Putaburbeta, Puna Putabuares. That Malaysia in a May Padu de Malaysia leg and rebu tambo to Padu deres. And Padu de Javashama Malaysia in a Middletown Rabuares.
So, in the bardo itself, so I don't know if I translated this or not, but the consciousnesses are different. The mental consciousness in this life and the mental consciousness in the bardo are different consciousnesses. So, when one passes and goes into the bardo, whatever connection there is, stronger connection to various action and afflictions that have taken place, whatever one has more of a stronger familiarity with, then that arises, and then one is propelled into the bardo state aimed towards one of the particular realms. So if one is going to be born as a human in the human realm, then at that point he or she is in the bardo in the form very similar to a human being. So the actual form that he or she takes on looks like that of the realm that he or she is going to be born into.
What is it?
Thank you, I'm sorry, my questions
It is-
weren't very clear.
No, it's no problem. If we can get to the root of them, there's no question that shouldn't, you know what I mean? I have trouble formulating questions too. Yes.
Is it poisonous for us to become attached to the idea of becoming enlightened? Like I'm attached to practicing all the time. When I don't, I get discouraged.
Okay, then Ngatsu Tsalo Dang, the Nyan Len. I don't know, I've tried to ask this question so many times. I don't know that it makes sense in Tibetan. It makes perfect sense to me, I just don't know how to. Can you formulate this well? I've tried this so many times, attached to practice, and it never.
Attached to the idea of getting enlightened.
The Ngatsu Tsalo Mamo Dang, the Nga, the Tarpala Drogure, Nge Sanje Je Tugure, Nge Sanje, the Demba Jegure, then Chapa. Yon Tugudu. Then the Deepa Yimba. The Misipa Sheja.
Then the Santana Tabatu Tugre, Tabatu Tugre, Saji Tugre, Denzin Loshere, Atusunga Montugre, San Gavaris. And Chabacoche Yungores, then Kunyandu Yungores, Yandu Yungores, Yachaba Jigre, and the Shanchu Santa, Tony to be Shera, Tabatuba Yungre, Kogawaglo Yungre, Yandu Yungres.
Then a Chapa, Ducha, Yon Tudu, Zin Tugudu.
Chaba de Yungres, Chaba Dajumba Mariba, the Chaba Monto Kalekabres, Kuchaba Jigres, Ne Chaba Jigre, Chaba to Lulu, she in Samasan Jigros.
So, yes, even a Hinayana foe destroyer still has subtle forms of attachment that are still present in his or her continuum. If you are sitting down and thinking of the benefits of becoming enlightened and the possibility, yes, it's possible for me to become, enter the state of liberation. It's possible for me to become a Buddha. There are faults in attachment. There are faults in mistaken views. The wrong views are a downfall. If one is thinking about this and recognizing the possibility and potential to achieve enlightenment or Buddhahood, and this is virtue. But at the same time, it's very possible to get attached to this idea. It's it's very possible for simultaneously for there to be some sort of negative emotion relative to attachment. And this is common for it to take place. And both are present at that point. There is virtue present and there is a non-virtue present at that point if there is an attachment to the actual idea of liberation. So these are both present, but yes, it is virtuous to think about these, and usually both virtue and non-virtue are present in that particular case.
단 뇌차도 혼르지는 뇌차 때 자그르지 야 뇌차 때 자그르지 혼르지다 뇌자레스 뇌차도 혼르 때는 때 인장버렸어.
Ducha control.
혼르지다 뇌자레스.
The aversion is okay. Attachment is a little less negative than hatred or aversion. Aversion or hatred is a very extremely negative state.
바신 TV 상주 sem바도 저기는데 뇌차 본거요만 뇌차 제주고르스 뇌차 제네 뇌차 되게 랑 조조도 거르스.
So in the perfection vehicle, the attachment itself is slowly penetrated, and there's an entire path that takes place. I want to go back and make sure I translated this right. Did the attachment and hatred part, was he saying that I know he said that hatred is extremely negative and bad, and attachment is a little less, but I just want to make sure I didn't miscommunicate. Did Rinpoche say that attachment is harder to get rid of than the hatred? Because he gave the example just now of the bodhisattva.
I thought he said you could use it on the path. Maybe I misunderstood.
Okay. Then Yanjir Surala Rinpoche.
단 뇌차는 바신 TV 상주 sem바 속에 뇌차 배주제 뇌차 본거요 말이스.
Okay.
뇌차데 콜로지 제비 제와랑 아니 조마 동차모 보여와르스. 아니 보모모지 어디서 그거 타발로 보여. 뇌차데 타바 도지게 랑 졸 도샤고스. 조보지 도르스.
Like Trobosha.
뇌차 랑친 다보래.
Oh, okay. Parshin teba ducha lang, nagi teba ducha sheda. Okay. So one can, that's exactly it. One can utilize the attachment. There are various paths in the perfection vehicle that one can actually utilize the attachment in order to achieve realization. So the hatred in perfection vehicle, okay, so in the perfection vehicle, the hatred itself and the aversion is considered an extremely negative emotion without any sort of accessibility. But the attachment itself can be utilized as an actual path, so that it can, in the Bodhisattva in various texts is instructed to utilize it in order to achieve positive results.
And then 하기지는 콘주당 뜨모도수가 랑 조수주도 거르스. 뇌차 랑치 shedan 랑치 뜨모 랑치서 어떤 용 거르스.
So even in the tantric tradition, we can see that the tantrist can utilize all of the poisons in order to achieve the state of full Buddhahood. He or she can utilize attachment, hatred, and delusion or ignorance as a path itself.
Then also mechuju나 long langsan seges, jina long de seges. Shina chibul mambasona long kazil hezon den mekul tanda chenrudos.
So if there is a small fire, then the wind can blow it out rather quickly. But if the forest is on fire, the more wind that comes, it actually aids the fire. It serves as a benefit to the fire and increases it rather than blow it out.
오컬나 샴바탄 히제다 토니 두블로단 하게 냥렌도 가지 셰치바고 추여게 뇌차도 혼도도 너도 너 모토바잔도 마제 뇌차도 혼도도 랑도 조버시 온거스.
So if one has the ability, then the tantric path, one can utilize these negativities as an actual path. One can utilize the attachment, aversion, or hatred and ignorance or delusion to benefit the path itself, to increase the potential or increase the power of the path itself. And love, through love, compassion, and bodhicitta. I forgot, I mixed them up. So,
If you have love and if you have compassion, if you have bodhicitta, then what do you say?
yeah. So if one couples that with the love, compassion, and bodhicitta, couples the delusions with love, compassion, and bodhicitta, then they can become a powerful path.
Jeff,
Yes.
just a quick, there's something I missed in the translation. There's the wisdom arisen from hearing, wisdom arisen from contemplation, and
Mhm.
wisdom arisen
Meditation.
from meditation.
It's translated a lot of different ways, but my brain's mush right now. I'm just warning everyone, please stop. It's mush. It's like we're almost 2 hours in, no break. Seriously. Dupten Jimba takes a break. Okay, so why don't we Tandang Ngatsu Hua Dang. I'm saying let's do a mala. That's where my brain is. Jinkor Dang Hua.